Good morning, Mortgage Coach community. It is always great to get together every week for these coaching calls and share some great ideas that you can implement in your business right away. My name is Joe Puthur. I'm the president of Mortgage Coach. Most of us have had a chance to talk at various times as we've helped grow Edge and create new features. And today is no different as we bring the advice of Todd Duncan to action here on today's call. You know, one of the interesting things we try to do when we bring these calls together is encourage you to be able to participate. And GoToMeeting really does have a great feature. Some of you have used it. Many of you haven't. And that really is that you can ask a live question on this broadcast. So the way it works is you have the ability to raise your hand. So if you note in the little GoToMeeting icon that you have running on your desktop, you have the ability to click that little hand with an arrow on it. That'll tell Todd and I that you'd like to talk. If you're dialed in on the phone, make sure you unmute your phone. If you're listening to this over your computer, you definitely need a microphone to be able to speak. But again, if you raise your hand, we will do our best to unmute you and really give you a chance to talk to Todd Duncan live on today's conversation. Also, really want to remind all of you in the community that we do archive these conversations. So you can visit our website, mortgagecoach.com. You can listen to past calls. You can also sign up for our Q&A event. I get so many emails about the new features that we added to Edge. I mean, last week we just did an update where we added some new calculations, some great things that you can highlight, and you want to know about those enhancements and how to best use them. So we do a live training every Thursday. It's a Q&A event where your questions get answered, so certainly join that call. You can see it on our website to sign up, as well as inside of Edge on the home screen, you can click to sign up for those Q&As. We love providing these live trainings and really being able to answer your questions in a great environment. So I want to thank so many of you. I mean, literally, so many submissions to this contest that it took us hours and hours to really watch all the videos and really talk through how to select the winners, guys. I can't thank you enough for your willingness to participate, to really share the way that you present and package your advice, ask and solicit our opinion, and certainly be willing to show off to the rest of the community and help inspire them to create great videos. We're going to continue this concept of contests, and there's just such a great response. So guys, the way that everyone was able to participate was simply sending your best TCA or rent versus own or open house to contest@mortgagecoach.com. Again, contest@mortgagecoach.com. We'll take a look, and if we select your video and report, you'll get posted in our Hall of Fame on the website, and we'll send some goodies your way. So again, guys and gals, please submit your videos and show us how you're using rich media to wow your borrower community today. These are the names of the top 10. So have a look on Facebook shortly. Also, you'll see in the next few days our Hall of Fame site have these great TCAs and rent versus owns added. Really, when we are judging these videos and the panelists were having a look at which contest folks to select, we looked for camera presence first and foremost. Were you maintaining eye contact with the person that you were speaking to through the experience? Were your tones smooth? Did you present in a well-articulated way? And really have a call to action, letting your customer know to pick up the phone and call you, to talk to you about this presentation, and really to dialogue about the strategy that you presented. Your explanation was also critically important. Here at Mortgage Coach, we've been creating these types of presentations for 15-plus years, and one of the most important ingredients is connecting the dots for your customer. So these 10 winners definitely went the extra mile of explaining what the scenario was and how it benefited the client as well. And you'll notice a couple of these winners, there is audio-only winners as well, folks. I mean, sometimes you don't have a web camera or you're broadcasting from the road, so audio clarity and enunciation is key, and if you use it right, it can be almost just as impactful as video. So congratulations to all our winners. Again, community, have a look at what they've done and use some of the best options to model your own videos and continue to participate in the community. We can all learn from each other. So again, gang, really, really appreciate it. So bringing us to the focus of today's event, we're so grateful, as always, to have Todd Duncan, founder of Sales Mastery, really industry legend, as part of our community. I think many of you know we've been aligned with the Sales Mastery event for a very long time, since really the inception of Mortgage Coach. A lot of Dave Savage's lessons and many of the things that are core to our philosophy have been core to Todd's philosophy as well from the beginning. So if you didn't get a chance to hear some of the most recent events where Todd's participated in the community, you need to listen to these events. And one of my favorites was certainly How to Win with an Olympian Attitude, and really reminding ourselves just what it takes to be the best in our industry, in our local communities, and really drive that value for our customers while keeping and maintaining our focus. So this is a great event. Certainly it's available for you to watch and hear on demand at any time and play for your sales team. As we prep and we really get into this last quarter, Q4, such an important quarter for all of us in the industry, got to just take a look at how we're selling. Certainly many of you are going to be at the Sales Mastery event, so if you're going to be there, this should be great. If you're not, use this as a reminder, gang, of just why you should come. So Todd, if you wouldn't mind just telling us a little bit from a VIP level about the agenda at Mastery this year.
Great, great. Well, first of all, I want to say hi to everybody that's on the call today. It's wonderful to be, Joe, a partner with Mortgage Coach. Certainly our values are aligned, and the idea of using Edge, using TCA to create trust with borrowers, there could not be a better 1-2 punch, I think, in the industry as we continue to, parallel each other and add value to guys and gals out there trying to be their best in, the new normal that we're in right now. For anybody on the phone call today that's coming to Mastery, I can promise you that this event this year is by far the most dialed-in event that I've ever hosted. We came back at it last year and had been on kind of a hiatus for 2 years, and came back last year and pulled off a great event with 850 people. This year we've got close to 1,350 people, and I feel that this year's event is teed up to be really probably the best Mastery I've ever intentionally, kind of designed, and I really paid close attention this year to results. And I think everybody, if they're going to spend the time and spend the money and spend the energy, to be away from the office and potentially be away from their family for, a period of 4 or 5 days, then we have to produce, they, and I, along with our partners, have to produce great results. So, it's certainly the high-level agenda is about really 2 things. It's about, it's about optimizing deal flow. It's about really making sure that you're highly efficient, highly effective in the way that you build the business, the way that you partner, the way that you manage lead generation opportunities every day with your partners, strategies simply around business development and the different ways to develop purchase business at a very high level, if you want to go to a very high level, is really one of the keystones of the event this year. I'm looking at some testimonials from people that came last year, and one guy, Scott Grove, said that since following your plan in 2011 at Mastery, I've gone from $3 million a month in fundings to over $10 million a month in fundings, and I've gone from 6 days a week of working on average to 4 days a week working on average. That pretty much kind of personifies what I want to see happen with people that come to Mastery. I was talking to Jeremy Forcier the other day, and he's obviously an avid Edge user, a mortgage professional personified, and he said to me, that using these tools, High Trust and Edge combined, he funded 32 loans for $10.2 million in July, and submitted 77 loans for $26 million in August. I mean, when you start thinking about those kinds of numbers, that's what Sales Mastery is all about. So we are about more deals. We are about less time. We're about optimizing cash flow, per hour. And we're about creating experientially this year kind of a way in which you can listen to everything and get the nuggets you need to take your business to the next level. We have 3 things happening this year that are very cool. One is we have a CEO roundtable on Tuesday night that was by invitation only, so we have about 65 CEOs coming to a private gathering at Morton's across the street from the Marriott. And the intention there was to make sure that we were plugged in to leaders in the marketplace, and along with you, Joe and Dave, We want to make sure that we're constantly making an impact on leaders and decision makers so that the loan officers that work for them can optimize the business opportunities. The second thing is that on Wednesday the 10th, we're actually doing a leadership session. So any of you that are attending that are either branch managers and you're producing and you really want to optimize, how to grow your branch, how to grow your brand, how to be an effective leader today, there's a 3.5-hour session on effective leadership. I'm going to talk about a principle that is guaranteed to add a loan a month per loan officer in purchase volume funded. We have Jocko Willink, who's a retired Navy SEAL that freed us from Ramadi and Fallujah and ran the SEAL teams that did that. He's going to talk about leadership from the front lines. We have 2 very successful producing managers that we're going to interview. The founder of Fidelity Title, Pat Stone, is going to be there. He's a phenomenal leader. Bill Dallas is going to be there. So we've got a really great just kind of leadership venue that's set up, Joe, and then we start. Opening night is a show this year. It's not just a speech; it's a show, and there's lots of surprises, and I can't go into it. But opening night is going to turn people on their heads. It's going to be an amazing experience. And then for 3 days, we roll very, very hard with the best practices of how to build your business. We've got Darren Hardy back, who's going to talk about the belief systems of top producers. How do they think differently than those that aren't top producers? And I think everybody that comes to Mastery wants to be one. That's going to be followed by a consumer direct panel where we have people on a panel that have built referral businesses that in one case, one guy is going to fund over 850 loans this year, and he's going to share the strategies that he uses for point of sale referral mastery. He never leaves the office, never prospects, just uses a very incredible strategy at point of sale to build his business. We have a $100 million panel. We have 3 people that are doing over $100 million a year in purchase business. One guy is going to close $125 million this year. He lives in Los Angeles. His business is in New York City. How do you do that, and how do you go through the managing of the barriers to be 3,000 miles away and still do a phenomenal business? We've got one gentleman, Mike Metz. Mike this will blow your guys' mind. And again, none of this is about you have to go to this production level. It's really about what's possible. Mike's going to talk about the 3 daily disciplines that he deploys every single day in his business. And he has funded 125 loans in the last 2 months for $557,000 in gross revenue. So it's very, very, as you can see, Joe, very tactical, very hands-on. We have a Women of Excellence panel this year, women that are knocking it out of the park, that have not only, the job that they have maybe with children and obviously being a spouse, but they're maybe the breadwinner or they're part of the income picture, and they how do they balance the business? How do they balance it? One gal's going to do $205 million this year, and she has triplets. How does Shelley balance the challenge of being a mom and also the business? Mike Hyatt's going to be there. Mike wrote a book called Platform, probably the leading authority in social media management, and he'll be talking. Tom Ferry will be there again. We have 2 really robust real estate agent panels with agents that are doing over $100 million a year in real estate sales. They're going to talk about strategies. So if you're coming, you can take those strategies back to your agents. If you bring your agents, which you can still do for $250 per agent, then they're going to be there at the feet of the masters, and these will be run by Michael Mayer. So it's robust. If you go to salesmasterymobile.com, you can see the agenda. You can see what we're going to be talking about it. But the promise that I'll make is that you'll walk out of there not only with a 90-day plan for execution, you'll walk out of there with there's absolutely no question in my mind that you will not get the strategy or strategies you need to take your business and your life to the next level. In fact, it's a promise and it's a guarantee. And if you don't feel that way at the end, then we will refund your tuition, because that's how confident we are that it's going to be life-changing. So that's a quick overview. We've got some surprises, as I said, that I can't mention because they're not even on the agenda, but it's a pretty robust program, Joe.
Well, Todd, every year that we get together at Sales Mastery, clearly people walk away being able to make an impact to the bottom line of their business, and I think the agenda that we've all put together this year is just so incredibly powerful. And we know right now, more than 400 Mortgage Coach members, many of whom are with us on this call today, are coming to the event, and many have for a number of years. So coming into this year, knowing 2012 has been very interesting for the market. We've seen incredible refinance traction. We know how important it is as that refi market moves, that we build those purchase relationships. So how would you advise the folks on the line who are coming, and even those who are considering still coming, how would you advise them to prepare to get the most out of the event?
Well, I think that, observationally, people need to be thinking about where they want to take their business. The idea of kind of dreaming and believing and setting some goals about and around where you want to be in a specific period of time is always a good frame of mind, prior to attending an event. But what I have found in the last, particularly in the last year, is I've gone one-on-one with 23 or 24 loan officers. I've actually decided to not to coach as a company offering, but to coach to make sure that what I believe in and what I teach and how I teach it is as robust as I believe it to be. And I have to tell you that in 23, and I just started the 24th last week, but in 23 coaching sessions that have lasted 90 days to 180 days, every single person, at no matter at what level of production they were at, had massive room for improvements in how they ran their business. And so to get people thinking about, what's the best way to optimize sales mastery, we have a series of countdown videos that are going out. One went out last week, one's going out today, one's going out Thursday, and one will be going out next week. But one of the things I talk about on the countdown video is come to mastery having already taken an x-ray of your business. And, Ben Franklin said that the eye of the master will do more than both of his hands. And so, one of the ways to prep for sales mastery is to spend some time either reviewing the last couple of weeks or months, or in the next week or two, getting very intentional about observing your business. And, around areas of production efficiency, where are you right there? If mastery is about being the best, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being I am radically efficient. I mean, my business operates like a Ferrari. I mean, I have no issues. I have no bumps in the road. I've got a total handle on the business, and I've got just the highest level of customer service that I can provide. I mean, if you're not there at that kind of level right now, what would it take to get there? What would it take to start moving in that direction? I'll give you one example, and then I'll talk about it a little bit later, Joe. But, one of the guys I met with, funding 10 to 12 purchase loans a month, that's good production. I mean, 10 to 12 purchase loans a month is good production. But the guy's completely stressed out. His hair's on fire, and he can't get over about $2.5 million a month when we start working together about 6 months ago. In August, he funded $7.5 million, and he had shaved 11 hours off his work week. And all we did was work on his efficiency model. What did we need to do to reverse the trend of just hair on fire, out of control, not originating, but making sure everything's going through, to a peaceful kind of tender warrior approach to the business? How do we flip that whole script and get to a point where you can take deep breaths and you run an incredibly efficient business? So if you guys were to make observation between now and the time you come, then you would then, when the ideas are presented, you would say, that'll work there, or this will work there, or that one idea could turn my entire efficiency game around 180 degrees from being, hair on fire to, a sustained level of kind of peaceful existence. So the observation thing around efficiency would be huge. The other is, how confident are you in your business partnerships? If the purchase business is the name of the game, and it is, and we will be very, very highly focused on that this year, and if real estate agents are the navigators and the negotiators of purchase transactions, and the better off your relationships are with those people, the deeper they are, the more connected you are with them, the more deal flow you ought to get out of that relationship. I'd come to mastery with an observation on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being totally dialed in where are you with each of your agents? Where are you in terms of the level of trust? Where are you in terms of the total amount of deals you're getting from them? Where are you in terms of how consistently are you meeting? Where are you on the friendship scale? How are you and they working together? Are you getting first right of refusal on, every buyer that they come across? Have you guys strategically sat down and figured out how to show a unified front to a buyer when you talk? Do they know? Do your agents know what total cost analysis is? Have you sat down and done a total cost analysis with an agent so that they can sell you better when they're out there working with buyers? Because we know that edge and TCA is the most substantial differentiator there is in a borrower experience. So I would come, Joe, to Mastery with the observation made on how are you doing in the area of your relationships? Because I can tell you right now, one of the most significant things that's going to happen at Sales Mastery is the originator is going to walk out of there and they are going to have a whole new attitude about partnering and partnering with agents and how to do it and how to do it successfully. So, that kind of observation is hugely important. So I'd work on efficiency. I'd work on observation of relationships. And then I would work on, and I'd be crystal clear, and if you're not at a level 10 right now in conversion of borrowers talked to, TCAs delivered, and loans received, if you're not 100%, if you're not batting, 10 for 10 on that, what needs to happen? What needs to happen for you to create a different compelling story for a borrower so that in today's market and still in what is arguably short of refinances keeping a lot of people afloat, a very difficult economy still, with an election pending that looks to be very, very interesting, to say the least. Where are you in the borrower experience? So if you came with those 3 points of kind of evaluation done, then I'm highly confident that when the ideas get presented from stage on any of those areas, and there will be multiple ideas in each of those areas, you're going to hear them. You're going to hear them clearly. They're going to hit you like a ton of bricks. And as a result of that kind of preparation, you'll be able to, I think, have higher traction, faster implementation, and more successful execution of the strategies that we talk about. So that would be kind of my hunch and my answer to that question, Joe.
I think that's great insight, Todd. And to the members who are on the line, I think Mortgage Coach members always come a little bit more prepared to learning events, knowing just how rapidly you can change your strategy and morph to the advice of others when you surround yourself with people who really have been successful, like yourself, Todd, and really the panel of experts that we've gathered this year. One of the things I want to mention is, as you think about partnerships, is just the idea of bringing some of this advice into your office. So I know we have many senior executives on the line that may not be able or scheduled to attend this year's event. Todd, much like those of us here at Mortgage Coach, are always willing to schedule and explore the idea of coming to your office and having a conversation, really being a part of your in-office culture and having a private event. So, Todd, I know you've done a number of these regionally recently. Our team was able to attend a few at this point in time. And really, I just want to encourage everyone to know and just be aware that Todd Duncan can come visit your office. So visit theduncangroup.com to learn a little bit more about how Todd can impact to your environment in real life. Todd, you've had a lot of lessons, I think, that you've taught in some of these events recently. And I think one of the things that Dave and I always are able to extrapolate is really an opinion about what some of the mistakes, some of the the key challenges people are ignoring and not overcoming in the market today. Any comments from some of your recent events that maybe you could share with the group right now?
Yeah, well, I think that if I look at where mistakes are being made, where I look at where loan officers, are falling short, it's obvious to everybody that the business is a more difficult business, now than it has been. It's more difficult to put deals together. But we know that in any market, no matter how hard or how easy, you still have the comparative advantage taking place, which is in any given market, no matter what the elements are, you have those that rock and roll, and then you have those that still struggle. So from my vantage point, there's a couple of areas where, I see loan officers not paying attention to things that if they were paying attention to them, they would be able to have a dramatic change of events and course in their business. One I think is in the area of pipeline management. I had a chance the other day to interview Pat Lencioni, and Pat is an author, a very successful author. He's written a new book called The Advantage, and The Advantage is about proving how organizational health can be your most valuable competitive advantage. And one of the things he was talking about in organizational health is the idea of keeping your eye on the ball, and specifically reference the idea of keeping your eye on the ball every day on some of the metrics that that move your business. And so one of the observations that I've made in the business, and it's not just new this year, it's always been an observation, but I think this year, and based on all the changes that we've had in the industry, this has become even more relevant for most people, is that we do not have an organized approach to managing the pipeline. And I think that if I could see everybody's hand and ask, how many of you experience transactional stress, the bigger your pipeline gets, I think that probably a good portion of people would say yes. And if it's at 20 loans, or several of the people I've talked to already today that are going to be at Mastery have over 150 loans in their pipe, at no matter what level you are right now, do you have transactional stress and pipeline management stress? And so one of the big mistakes is agreeing with yourself that that's just the way it is, agreeing with yourself that this is how the business transacts, and it doesn't have to be that way. I'll just give you one example. So one of the guys that I've coached, and that is a dear friend now, is RJ Crosby, and he may be on the webinar. He may not be, but in July he funded 45 loans for $10.3 million, and he took 2 weeks off. And when I interviewed him, he was talking about his number one business development strategy, and he mentioned that it's make 12 calls per file. And the second thing he did is make 12 calls per file. And the third thing he did was make 12 calls per file. What he was trying to iterate to everybody is that it's the same thing. I want you to know that I said it 3 times because it's the only thing I do. And if you deep dive into RJ's business and you go to his office, the phone doesn't ring. And the reason it doesn't ring is because all they're doing is making sure they make 12 calls per loan so that the phone doesn't ring. And it doesn't ring from a reactive standpoint. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Covey writes these brilliant 7 habits, and the first habit is be proactive. So a big mistake is loan officers aren't being proactive, particularly in the area of pipeline management. So RJ's solution was that I'm going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm going to make 12 calls per file. I'm going to make 4 calls to the listing agent, 4 calls to the buying agent, and 4 calls to the borrower. I'm going to do them at submission. I'm going to do them at appraisal in. I'm going to do them at docs out, and I'm going to do them at funded. I'm going to call the listing agent at those 4 times. I'm going to let everybody know from the get-go that this is how I run my business. I'm going to let everybody know that Nick has the file, so if you do have any questions other than outside of these 4 calls I'm going to make to you, you can call Nick directly. That's an efficiency move. And he wants to talk to the listing agent because on every transaction he can blow away the competition by giving listing agents updates, but by also building a relationship with them. And then obviously prior to funding, when he's making the call that the loan is funded today and recording, that he can then transact with that agent and begin to build referability with that agent and begin to build a relationship with that agent. The buying agent he already has a relationship with, and the borrower he has a relationship with. And so if he doesn't want to talk to them directly, but just leave a very efficient update on the file, he uses slide dial, and just goes straight to voicemail. So he basically, on 1 loan file from start to finish, he might spend, after meeting with the borrowers, he might spend 15 minutes a file, and he's closing 45 deals, and he took 2 weeks off. There is a relationship between his commitment to proactivity, the peacefulness with which that outbound communication strategy creates in an office, and the demand for his services, because the loan experience is so powerful. So, there's one big mistake being made, and that is, here's a guy that can do 45 loans and take 2 weeks off. Most people can't work less than 40 hours and take no time off and manage 1/4 of that business. So there's a huge, the point I'm making, a huge opportunity to build business efficiency and get to the point where you can have the business you want, you can make the life you want, you can have the dreams that you want, but it starts right here. And I think everybody would agree that if you can't master the fulfillment side of the business, you're not going to have as much fun doing this business, and you're going to be tethered to your pipeline. He reviews his pipeline every morning for 15 minutes, has a huddle with his team. Every Monday they go through the entire pipeline at 2:30. By 5:30, everybody has an update on every loan in process. He's eliminated about 95% of the inbound calls, what's happening on the loan. So that's just one. I mean, and we're going to go so deep on so many of these ideas at Mastery, but that one idea there can flip the script for an originator, and they can go from out of control to in control and double and triple their business by implementing just that one idea.
Todd, I think one of the greatest parts about advice like that is just how clear it can be that we can implement it right away. And the idea of pipeline management is something that all of us who have been originating, we've managed it in some way. But the idea, can we increase the efficiency? Can we improve it? It's really about fundamentally taking an intentional approach to making those changes. And I think one of the things that you do a lot is gather these ideas in a way that people can use them and understand them easily. And so, well, the strategy, some are tired and true that you've mentioned here right now. What are an example of something new, maybe the best idea that you found recently that you would want to share with the community?
Well, part of me wants to say there's nothing really new. I mean, we have a lot of different ways that we're getting information out there. We have radio, we have TV, we have the internet, we have viral marketing, we have all that kind of stuff. And there's cool ways to use different types of technology to drive a lot of business. But, as I've sat down and met and talked with all of these loan officers that are going to be at Mastery, there's not a lot of new ideas under the sun, so to speak. But I'll give you one example. So Rick Rimpa is going to be with us, and Rick's from the Midwest, and Rick, I think, is going to close about 850 loans this year. And he talks about the importance of point-of-sale management, right? So point-of-sale management, it might be a new concept for a lot of people, but if you don't own the point-of-sale, then you're not in control of the business. And what Rick does is when he works with the borrowers, and when he does a total cost analysis, and when he's created the wow factor for a borrower, he actually hires them into his sales force, and he recruits them to be salespeople for his business, and gives them 3 cards and a specific strategy on how to roll with introductions to 3 other people that are going to need his services. And you can imagine if you're going to fund 800 loans, and forget 800, if you're going to fund 200, whatever the number is. In Rick's case, 800 loans, 3 cards each. I mean, do the math real quick and think about how many direct referrals he's getting from people that already trust him. And so, while point of sale, we all do it, right? You meet with the borrower, that's point of sale. My guesstimate is 9 out of 10 loan officers do not have a point-of-sale referral strategy. So, it's not, it's new. It's it doesn't require Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter or any of that to execute it. It's a fairly simple, straightforward idea. But imagine never having to leave your office. Imagine just having the business line up for you, and imagine your conversion rate going through the roof because every buyer you talk to has been a direct referral from another buyer who's experienced a phenomenal mortgage experience with you. I mean, that's an example of Rick's going to just unpack that strategy. He's going to show everybody at Mastery exactly how he does that, and that's fairly powerful, and it's fairly simple. So beyond that, I think that what clearly, Joe, what you and I know what Dave and I believe in is that Mastery is going to be about executing business basics. That's what it's going to be about. It's going to be about keeping things simple. It's going to be about executing business basics, and it's going to be about analysis. I mean, one thing we'll do this year is we're really, really wanting people to do some deep dives into their business, to their cash flow per hour, to how much money they're making per hour. If I could go a step further on your question, one of the things that we found out in coaching is that there are people that when you meet them for the first time and you simply ask them how much are you worth per hour, at least in the case of these 23 people, 22 of them did not have a number. And so part of the experience at Mastery should be, what's your number? Because from there we improve everything. And one of the things I'm going to teach at Mastery is called the deconstruction analysis. And I'll give everybody a very, very quick example. This happens to be a producing branch manager. I started working with her in 2010. She was number 51 in the company in 2010. Her current status in the company is number 12, and there are over 500 loan officers in this company. So when I started working with her, it was very interesting. The first step in deconstruction is personal income, and she was making $28,000 a month in her own book of business, and she was making $6,600 a month in team and branch management income and overrides. Okay, so you can see immediately just on the kind of the front end of analysis, 4 times her income is coming from her own business. 1/4 of her income, or what would end up being 1/5 of her income, is coming from managing her team. So I already have an interesting problem, and in many ways the branch manager model is broken in our business. The producing branch manager model is completely dysfunctional if we don't figure this out. So step 1, deconstruct your personal income. And then when we go to step 2, which is time allocation, she's spending 20 hours a week on her personal production. She's spending 35 hours a week in managing her team. So we have another problem, right? She's only spending about 40% of her time in the part of the business that pays her 5 times the income. So we have a problem with that. 35 hours a week managing a team for $6,600 a month in overrides is a horrible exchange of labor and value. So we had to go deep on that. And so when we do a deep allocation on her time, she has 3 loan officers on her team. Loan officer number 1 is funding 10 loans a month. Loan officer number 2 is funding 3 loans a month. Loan officer number 3 is funding 0 to maybe 1 loan a month. Now, when we do a time allocation, she is spending 20% of her time with loan officer 1, who gives the branch 80% of its business. She is spending 80% of her time with loan officers 2 and 3, which only give the branch 20% of the business. So you can kind of see where we're starting to go with this. And when we go to step 3 of deconstruction, we look at hourly rate. In her personal production, she's making $350 an hour. The current team production override is producing a value of $47 an hour. So we again now start to see that if you're not paying close attention to your time allocation and to the money and to your return on labor and your sales force, and this idea that I'm sharing with everybody, Joe, could easily apply to doing the same thing with your real estate agents, and really getting clear on how much each real estate agent is worth to you, and understanding that if you do the analysis, you might find out that some of the people you're spending the most amount of time with are actually producing the least amount of revenue for your labor exchange. So we got the hourly rate, and then we go to the 4th step, which is called the rebuild, and her current team time allocation is 35 hours a week. She's spending 7 hours with loan officer number 1. She's spending 28 hours with loan officers 2 and 3. The 80-20 rule is in place. She's spending 80% of her time with 2 of the loan officers that are only producing 20% of the volume. So what we do then is we say, okay, let's reallocate the time distribution. So if she's spending 28 hours a week with loan officers 2 and 3, let's take 20 of those 28 hours to personal production. And theoretically, we have now doubled her personal production. We've not changed her hourly rate, but we've done something dramatic to her income. With the remaining 8 hours, we're going to give those to loan officer number 1. Loan officer number 1 is doing 10 loans a month, but prior to this was only getting 20% of her leader's time. She's now going to get 80% of the leader's time in the area of team management. We're going to terminate loan officer 2 and 3. Why? Because it's not paying off. It's poor exchange for labor and ROI on her hourly rate. So when we execute this strategy, here's what happens within 90 days. She doubles her personal income to $56,000 a month. She's doubled her time commitment to loan officer 1, and she's taking the new cash flow from BM comp from $6.6 to $13.2 thousand a month, which has taken her hourly rate in managing the team from $47 an hour to $220 an hour. That's the kind of thinking that's going to happen at Sales Mastery. And if we can take anybody in a 90-day period of time and quintuple their hourly rate, I can't see why anybody wouldn't just be lined up to spend, whatever it took to get to Sales Mastery. That's just one example of a new way of thinking in today's marketplace, Joe, that the payoff is huge.
Well, I think when you break things down to the facts and the figures, and we can all respect what our individual time is worth, that number can be incredible. And it is one of the things that I think when you combine good technology and a plan and just a state of mind that you're going to take control of your time and get the most out of it, that the results can be incredible, especially, like you said, if you take the 50,000-foot overview and look at how are you investing your time and really look at those who are taking up the majority of it. And so I encourage everyone on this call to take that to heart. The heart of coaching is about playing more efficiently. And so I want to give everyone a chance now, Todd, if you don't mind, for us to just take this casual and really facilitate any dialogue that anyone's willing to share, and for our members who are on the line right now to have the opportunity, the rare opportunity, to speak directly to you, Todd. So let's see if we can put that technology to work, guys. So if anyone has a question for Todd, go ahead and click the Raise Your Hand button inside of the GoToMeeting software. So again, if you click the Raise Your Hand button, again, guys, let's make sure to unmute your phone or unmute your mic. We're going to start with Mark Brewer. Mark, you are unmuted if you would like to ask Todd a question.
Good morning, Todd. Two questions, actually, because I'm a Scoutmaster. I always want to be prepared. Can you be more specific on the things that I need to have available, numbers or information or personal reflections? Could you be a little bit more specific on what I need to be prepared when I walk into Sales Mastery? And secondly, my question is, I need to build a branch from the ground up. I just fired my agents just from what you were talking about. They were just time suckers. And I want to rebuild and make sure I keep bringing the right people into place. Can you help me with those two questions?
Yeah, so let me start with the preparation piece. To get very specific about coming into Sales Mastery, I would probably take a day, and I would get away from email. I'd get away from the office. I'd get away from the phone, and I would start dreaming about what do I really want to achieve in this business. And I'd have a day of reflection where you just kind of journal. You kind of role play in your mind. The last month, the last year, maybe the last decade. You really kind of go deep into reflective time of what's brought you the most joy, what's created the most stress. If you could create your perfect day, what would it look like? If you could create your perfect year, what would it look like? What are some of the dreams that you have? And that alone might be a very interesting way to spend time. So many people today, Mark, don't have dreams. In a survey that we've done in preparation for Mastery, 97% of the people surveyed did not have a list or a dream board of executable dreams that they had for their business and their life. And so, to start thinking about those things prior to Mastery, again, gets you prepped so that when the ideas fly at you, you hear them and you're able to grab them. But I would then take that day of reflection, and I would probably, I have no doubt in my mind that you will come and you will be transformed. but the thing that challenges so many people is they try and implement too much. And so at a very high level, part of prepping for mastery would be, what are the 2, maybe 3 areas that you really want to see change? And, and be clear on those when you come in, so that as, again, you are part of the deliverables from 33 different people sharing success practices and best ideas, you'll hear those ideas and you'll be able to lock and load on them, and they'll make sense because you've had this kind of reflective time. And so, that's more on the prep side, and that's a pretty heavy day. It can be very enjoyable. It can be very kind of scary from the standpoint of what is possible, but that is soon replaced by excitement and positive energy and faith, because you know that those are the changes that could be responsible for giving you a transformative life change. So I would do that, and then I would continue to journal every day between now and then about ideas that are hitting you, and if you could do this or if you could do that, what strategy do you need to hear, and how do you need to execute it. And so that would be the answer to the first question. The answer to the second question on starting over in a branch, I think is very exciting, and a wholesale change like that is a change that can really set you up for success. So here's the one challenge that I want every branch manager to understand. I would rather have 5 loan officers who do $4 million a month each than 20 loan officers who do $1 million a month each. And I would build a branch from the ground up of hiring people that are at the very top of their game, that are winners, that are leaders. And if you only hired one that was doing $3 or $4 million a month, and whatever the corresponding units are, you then set up an entirely different attraction factor for your branch. And if I have 20 people doing $1 million a month, all I'm going to attract is $1 million a month producers. But if I have 1, 2, or 3 people that are doing $2, $3, or $4 million a month, I will attract $2, $3, and $4 million producers. So I would tell you at the very start, build it right. The 80-20 rule really still matters. It's still out there. It still exists. It's never going to change. The only difference is, what is your baseline? And so if the 80-20 rule is in play, I don't want a loan officer who ever does no loans a month, okay? But I can have the 80-20 rule in play where my least productive loan officer still does $3 million a month, and my most successful loan officer does $10 million a month. That's still the 80-20 rule, but the baseline has been moved up so far that we're okay with it, as long as those loan officers are not high maintenance and subjecting the company to compliance risk or fraud. So I think you're at a very good spot to start over, and I would recruit with the idea that if in doubt, say no. And this is just a great strategy for anybody that's managing. The most expensive time in your life is the time between when you give up on people and the time you do something about it. The better way to approach branch management is to never hire anybody that you are in doubt will be a huge success. If in doubt, don't. If in doubt, pass. If they're not a threat to you by going to work for one of your competitors, they certainly should not be employed by you. And I would build it right from the start. I would wait, and I would hire nothing but excellence. And that's the way I would approach that.
Todd, thanks for answering the question. And Mark, thanks for proposing, I think, 2 great questions that provided some great context for Todd to share. Todd, I want to drive a question that came through the chat portion of the meeting system, and that is around coaching. You're obviously a professional coach. You've done it for a very long time. Many of the folks on the line are people who built their own practice, built their own business, and so a couple of members have asked, how would you advise someone who is one of those producing managers to really approach coaching the people who are in that 80% to try to help reinforce some of the strategies that you just mentioned?
I had a contract with a fairly large company, and when I began the contract, I was on a conference call with 145 branch managers, and the interesting thing is that they were actually having a fairly robust discussion about why loan officers who aren't funding any volume should still be with the company, and it extended to hiring loan officers from other companies that weren't doing any volume, but it was the company's fault, it was the environment's fault, and that if they came to work for our company, they'd be successful. And it was very interesting, and I got very clear that the challenge that we all have is we're not coaching effectively. We don't give people the time that they need to be effectively coached, and then we don't have very clear boundaries on when they will no longer be with the company if they don't, rise to a level of acceptable production. So in this particular instance, 40% of the sales force had not met minimum performance for 2 months in a row. So I suggested from a consulting standpoint that we engage a program that I invented called AIM, A-I-M, and AIM stands for Activity Improvement Management. And the idea was that, as managers, if we have not done what is responsible of us to do to help somebody succeed, we can't afford to terminate those people unless they are a compliance or fraud risk. But what we have to do is we have to give them the opportunity to raise themselves to a level of acceptable performance, and then we have to have a very clear understanding that here is the time frame in which they do that. So what we did is we put 400 people on this system, and we built an automated program that would track what they were doing, and we picked the 10 activities that they needed to be involved in weekly. And the protocol was that they had to meet with their branch manager once a week for 15 minutes and deep dive into not only the activities that needed to be executed for the week that was coming, but then at the end of that week, evaluate how the activities were executed. And the technology allowed, at the end of 30 days, if the loan officer was still not at minimum production, they had a blinking yellow light next to their name on the team dashboard. And the idea there was they were 4 weeks into an 8-week program. You needed to be at 8 weeks either at minimum performance or you would be let go. So 8 weekly meetings with the manager, 8 focuses on the same 10 activities, training on demand if they needed it in approach calls or appointment setting or anything like that. And if you got into week 5 and you weren't at minimum performance, your yellow light turned to a red light that was blinking. And everybody knew that at the end of 8 weeks, the red light would go solid if the loan officer had not gotten to minimum performance. And the interesting thing, Joe, is that, so this is 80%, that aren't performing. At the end of 8 weeks, 63% of that group was at minimum performance or above. So I bring that up because I think that, hope is not a strategy. We can't hope that loan officers get better. Branch managers don't have time to pour into people the way they need to pour into them because of the aforementioned difficulty that I've already talked about with time allocation and managing people the wrong way. So I would be very clear very quickly that here's my minimum standard. Here's what I want my loan officers to be known as. I want my loan officers, to fund this many loans from this many sources. I want them to be at this dollar volume, yada, 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 yada. And we're talking about vision. We're talking about dream for your branch. And I'm going to share that with them. And if anybody at the sharing process is not interested in that dream, then fine. It doesn't mean they're bad. It just means they're not on the right team, and I'm not going to let them be on my team. So find them a different job. But the people that are excited about that, then I want to pour into them, and I want to get them involved in executed activity management. Let's face it, Joe, you know this, and everybody needs to be reminded of it. Success in this business is fairly simplistic from a lead gen standpoint. It's about relationships that are being managed that refer people to you on a regular basis. It can be about radio, it can be about TV, it can be about the internet, but the most successful way to run this business is one-to-one referral management because your conversion rates are at the highest possible. If I can coach people to having that kind of discipline and being involved in these 4 or 5 activities every single day, and then getting to a level 10 in terms of executing that strategy, that's why at the front end I talked about how great you are at borrower management. If I'm a 10 at borrower management and I'm doing TCAs and I've got a bulletproof follow-up plan, I should be converting 100% of my buyers to loans at close. I mean, that's just where I should be. And if I'm not, then I have a lot of room. If I'm a branch manager, I want people that play at that level. I don't want to manage loan officers that convert 1 out of 10 buyer conversations to a deal. I want to work with the best. I want to build a branch that has a reputation about being the best. I want people to be attracted to my branch because we are the best. So those are some thoughts around that.
So, Todd, thanks for the detailed answer. And I think one of the main points, if you'd agree, that came out of that is, set the minimum standards and be very, very deliberate in making sure that people meet it or move on.
Right.
And I think that's sound advice for any manager. And along those lines, Todd, when a question came up from Rick Flores. Rick, thanks so much for asking this question. Todd, I'm reminded by this question of the first time that I heard you speak, and almost 10 years ago now, and you were talking about how to leverage an assistant, how to identify the tasks that you as a senior leader just shouldn't need to do. And so Rick is saying in his question that he's finally hiring an assistant to help him with his opportunities and really help him generate more loans. Do you have some advice for him on the first assistant hire and really what to look for?
Well, I mean, if you got anybody, this is important for everybody, but I would go to mortgagemasteryclub.com, mortgagemasteryclub.com. I would check it out. We have an 8-hour program called the Assistant System. It's an online audio program that talks about the 5 different assistant positions, the comp plan for each of the positions. It's an annual subscription to have access to the vault of content. And so that would be if you really are serious about building the team and, you see a point in time where you go from 1 assistant to 2 to 3 to 4, that would be what I would recommend, is that you go through that 8-hour program. Short of that, I would tell you that I want an assistant that is a complement to me where I am weak. I'm not a detail guy. I get bored fairly quickly if I'm looking at spreadsheets and numbers. I want an assistant that can take that off of me, that can allow me to go out and do rainmaking and build partnerships and talk with buyers. I would think that the greatest area of effective delegation for assistant number 1 is going to be in the area of 50% task relief, so 50% of the stuff you're doing that isn't high payoff for you. That would be where she uses half of her time or he uses half of his time. And then the other half, I would say, would be in transaction management. So it may be that you haven't hired somebody that's got processing experience, or even in some cases, some of our best teams, loan officers are hiring DE underwriters to be transaction managers, so that they have a full kind of spectrum of knowledge and advice around managing the pipeline. But assuming that this person could do that, one of the greatest relief points for loan officers is in pipeline management. RJ, the RJ Crosby, whose story I shared with everybody, one of the key things that makes transactions fly at his company is he has a dedicated person to being the transaction coordinator, and even to the point where they're making 7-day pre-closing calls to make sure that there's not going to be a problem with closing. So, that would be kind of the high-level answer, 50% task relief for you, so you can go out and reallocate that time to borrower conversations and total cost analysis, and then 50% pipeline management, transaction management, those types of things for you, needs list, that kind of stuff. That'd be where I'd start with assistant number 1.
Great, Todd. And could you just, for the community that's tuned in, a lot of folks are asking for that website again because I didn't have a screenshot of that website. So could you mention the URL one more time, Todd?
That's mortgagemasteryclub.com.
All right, excellent. And for those members on the line who are going to go forward with that program, and Rick, if you enroll in that, Mike, if you do as well, please let us know and really share with the community how you were able to leverage that program to help you, facilitate this first assistant hire. So, Todd, I want to thank you for coming on the call. As always, today we're going to make this recording available to the community. I know hundreds of the folks that were on the line today are going to attend the event, and everyone, the invitation is still open. There's going to be 1,500 plus of us thought leaders there. So visit salesmasterymobile.com, click the register now button, save this as a mobile app on your phone. We're going to be pushing down lots of great content and lots of information throughout the event. So really looking forward to having everybody participate and hopefully having some of the folks who are answering some really great questions, asking some great questions here on the call. Hopefully you will join Todd and I and the rest of the folks at the event. So Todd, as we wrap up here, is there anything else that you'd like to share with the community as we prepare for a great week ahead?
Yeah, I just think, just keep on your radar screen excellence. Every single person that's on this call, and I mean every person, me and you included, we all can raise the level of our performance, and we can get closer to excellence. And so Sales Mastery is about that. It's not about the pressure of being excellence. It's about the commitment, like Joe, you brought up on the whole idea behind Olympic thinking. It's about playing at that level. So keep that on your radar screen. Never, ever, ever stop making observations of your business and your life, and make sure you execute on the few things that could be transformative for you. And with that kind of commitment, you'll constantly raise the bar. You'll constantly be a thought leader and desirable in the marketplace. You'll not ever have to worry about drumming up business. Just keep your eye on the excellence ball, and everything's going to work out great.
Well, Todd, thanks again for the solid advice, and looking forward to Mastery and all of the future events. I know you always come on to these coaching calls and share some insight, and I'm sure many of the folks on the phone here will tune into the next event.
Awesome.
So,
good to see you guys.
Thanks again, Todd. So to the Mortgage Coach members on the line, we have 3 quick questions we just want to send out. Really want to get some insight as we release a few different updates to Edge. First and foremost, to you guys who are on the line right now, do you have a fan page? Again, this is a dedicated fan page for your business or for your branch that you would have on Facebook. If you could just quickly answer this question, gang. I think many of you know we've been spending quite a bit of time at Mortgage Coach helping folks generate transactions via social media and sharing advice. And we really want to make sure that we're focusing the attention where you, our most active members, really need some help. So please, if you could take just a quick check and answer yes or no to the fact if you have a fan page. So again, really appreciate it. Looks like about a 60-40 split from those that have shared. So 40% of you have a fan page and 60% of you don't. So what I would ask you guys to do is visit www.facebook.com/mortgagecoach. Visit our fan page. Have a look at how we send and share a lot of information. And we've generated over 3,000 followers. You can do that easily as well. We want to help all of you be able to create a community of your own where you can communicate your advice. So certainly for the 60% of you that don't have a fan page, we would really like to help you take advantage of the opportunities that are there. Second question here, I just want to know how many people on the line have an iPhone. So I think all of you know that Mortgage Coach continues to innovate. One of the #1 things that we constantly hear is we want to bring the magic of Edge to the iPhone. It is certainly very, very close, and it's on the way. But we really want to know our member makeup a little bit. If you could, just answer the question if you have an iPhone. Guys, if you take a moment, answer this question as we get ready to release some great features and enhancements for these mobile devices. We'll know you have one, so we'll be able to reach you with news about it. So if you could just mention to us right now by clicking yes or no if you have an iPhone. So thanks, guys, for voting here. Again, it looks like more than 40% of you have an iPhone. That's incredible. It's amazing to think that just a few years ago, Apple wasn't making phones, and now there's just such an incredible movement behind that technology. We really want to help you as originators get tremendous value out of that amazing machine that we all lug around. So thanks for answering that question. I want to ask one last question, and that is, how many of you have an Android phone? So obviously, many of you that answered no to the iPhone, I'm assuming is yes to this question. We're very excited about Android. We love the platform. Google's done really some great things to allow some amazing technological advancements that we can help provide via these platforms. So the team's hard at work at making some great innovations. So if you have an Android phone, we'd really like to know about it and certainly be able to reach you as we create some innovations for Android as well. So for those that voted, again, looks like a 50-50 split. So it'll be interesting to see how that yes-no works between the iPhone and the Android phone. So thanks, everyone, for participating. As always, please feel free to share your opinion of today's call. We always love having the community involved and really being able to be part of these conversations. We try to bring a wide variety of speakers into these calls, everyone from your colleagues as originators and ideas they have, to regulators that you've heard speak on these calls before, to amazing and inspiring coaches like you yourself, Todd, willing to come on a call today and share with our members. So really appreciate everyone participating today. And again, if you have the type of feedback where you really like the call, please feel free to post on our fan page and certainly encourage other people to participate. And if there's anything we could have done to make it better, gang, you can email me at edge@mortgagecoach.com. Both Dave Savage and myself, we receive these messages, and we take them seriously and really do appreciate your voice directly to us. So edge@mortgagecoach.com. Thanks again, and look forward to seeing many of you soon. Thanks, Todd, for sharing your advice. And on behalf of our technical team, we really look forward to those of you that answered those iPhone, Android phone questions, really wowing you in the very near future. So talk to everybody soon, and take care.